Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs. For this review, we're going to be looking at the new Iron Patriot from the Iron Man Marvel Legends line. It's the separate sub-line, even though it actually has Legends on it this time. It's still the Iron Man batch. For this batch, we have these three figures right here. We'll be getting these later in the fall, which is silly since they come with a Build-A-Figure part. I don't get why they're split up by like 6 months, at least, more like 7 or 8 probably. We'll see depending on when they actually release. But with this guy, you get the torso. I'm not going to even look at the BAF parts yet. We'll look at those later on when they actually are all here. But Iron Patriot, as you can see in the picture here, it's basically a redo of the Extremis that we already saw. But you get a little bit of information on this sheet. Cool artwork, kind of. Nothing on the back at all. And just a little more information. So get rid of that. I don't think most people are going to keep that. Let's look at the actual figure. We've seen him before for the most part, but let's look at it again. 6 1/4 inches tall, just about. It's almost an exact replica of the one we got. Was it the first batch of Marvel Legends in the new batch? I'm not sure anymore. It's been too many iterations of Iron Man to keep track. But the only thing that I think is different, aside from paint, is the molded star on the chest. I think everything else is molded the same. You can check back to the other review or your collection to see if I'm right or wrong. I don't remember. And frankly, I don't really care since I already bought the figure. So, paintwork on this guy, since it's basically just a repaint, needs to be pretty darn good, I think. And I'd scale it about a 6.5 out of 10. At first glance, it looks fine. As you can see probably at that distance, looks like a really nice paint job. You get a little closer and you start to see that the lines aren't quite as smooth as they should be. There's a little bleeding between the reds and the whites. There's errors here and there. As you can see, there's a big white smudge there. You know, it's not the best, but it's definitely passable. The paintwork on the eyes is particularly nice, so I'm happy about that. Overall, I think it's a good figure. It's again, it's nothing to be impressed by, but it's definitely, I think, worth picking up. That way you have an Iron Patriot. And there's nothing particularly wrong with him. It just could have been a little sharper, a little cleaner. And I know people are going to say, hey, it's a $15 Hasbro figure, but I'm going to say that doesn't mean the paint has to be sloppy. We have a lot of cheaper figures, a lot of cheaper brands out there that do at least as good as this. So I think Hasbro could and should step their game up just a bit, but what are you going to do? Okay, so let's talk about articulation. The head is on a disc, so you have good range of motion. It looks up all the way, which is really nice. Definitely usable for flight pose. In conjunction with that, the torso joint, it's a diaphragm, but it's particularly useful. It's got a good ab crunch, and it actually, due to the armor design, it still blends pretty well, even after using it. So that is okay by me. Of course, the white lines don't line up after you pose it, but that's fine. That's expected. So back to the head, it has the swivel. No rock really back and forth, but forward and back is really good. And you can kind of readjust it on the neck peg if you want to, depending on what you're doing with the head. So that's good. It gives you a little bit better range of motion. The shoulders have ball discs just like most Iron Man figures, most Marvel Legends figures, bicep swivel built in. The armor is connected to the shoulder, so it'll rotate. It won't get in the way, so that's a good touch. He does have the skinnier arms. On the classic Iron Man, I mentioned how most have skinny arms now, and this one definitely does. He doesn't look like there's a guy inside a suit unless he's anorexic, but you know, it's passable because most of the Iron Man figures nowadays are skinny like this, so he'll fit right in. Double jointed elbows, wrist rotation, and a pivot, so that's pretty good. Same thing on this side. You can get him to do the repulsor blast, which I think is absolutely key in any Iron Man figure. If you can't raise his palm up like this, then they screwed up somewhere. Okay, let's move on down to this waist. He's got the little hip plates, but this time they move around so they don't get in the way of the articulation, which is kind of funny because there's almost no range of motion in the articulation. Anyway, forward and back is absolutely minimal. That's all you're going to get out of it. Side to side, it's a little bit better, and that's probably why these move. So, I mean, that's okay. But I think going forward and back is more important than side to side. That could be remedied by trimming this a little bit, but I'm not going to do that. He's got a thigh swivel built in, which is hidden perfectly well. That's fine by me. Double jointed knees, ankle pivot, and ankle rotation. That covers the articulation. We already talked about the paint. Sculpt, work is as good as it was before. You know, all the lines are actually sculpted in, and the star is a nice pointy star, not a little fat one like from kindergarten. So, do I recommend him? Yes, I think I do. He's definitely a gap filler. We needed an Iron Patriot, and we got one. Is he particularly impressive? No, but definitely good enough to buy. So, there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the rest of the figure reviews and other custom figures. And in the meantime, keep collecting.